America missed.
America missed what, Jay?
Yeah, what? Yeah, Jay.
America missed a discussion about David Copperfield age and why David Copperfield will be pushing 60 and I won't be pushing 50.
But okay.
Or
because you've got double standards. Yeah, okay.
I can't reenact the
But
magic
in
that we
Vegas, welcome to the Hangout, everybody. This is Behind the Scenes on Political Fix Radio. We're just chatting before the show. But in Vegas, when you turn 50, that's when you start getting senior discounts, which I think is pretty low, but everyone I know who's over 50 says that they just take advantage of the discounts and just smile and don't complain. So I just find it hard to believe that I'm only a few years away from being a senior here. This is weird to me.
Until Heather blows the lid off the whole thing and they decide to change it.
Yes, please change it to 60. I don't want discounts yet.
No, but here's the good news is that they won't change it in our lifetime. I'll tell you why. Because they've already experienced the baby boomers, which is a much larger contingent, taking advantage of these discounts, and it's not breaking them. So when we come in, the next generation, the so-called Generation X, there aren't as many of us, so it's not like we're going to break the bank. It's not like we're going to say, oh, you know, because the baby boomers would have already done it. They would have already broken the bank. As a matter of fact, the early Xers are already getting the discount.
Right. Yes. Okay. And so far, they have not broken the Vegas bank because it's very hard to break the Vegas bank.
Yes.
Because even during the midst of the recession, the Strip was still busy all the time. So.
Well, busy and people spending money are two different things. The Strip is always busy. People walking around the Strip is busy, but no one's making any money.
Okay. Well, they're still gambling.
Gambling revenue were way down during the recession. Actually, that was
is
part
it
of the
back
problem.
Up
That's
now?
why there were so many layoffs. The last time I looked, I thought it was back to like 2008 levels or something like that, which is pretty good. But you know, when you're I know, and again, you have to look at it sort of in bigger chunks. The problem is they're a little bit myopic, the gaming industry, and they don't look sort of at the big picture. But you have to look at, if you look at the overall economy, you know, there's no 10-year period where the stock market, for instance, was lower than it was 10 years earlier. Even the crash.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. The long-term trend is almost always up with humanity.
Yeah. But, yeah, right. And of course there are there are big dips. You know, obviously the stock market crash. The famed the Great Depression. That was a gigantic dip. But again, 10 years later, it was still higher than it was at the depths of the crash, which wasn't easy. I mean, which wasn't hard to do because obviously it was so low. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot higher, but it was higher.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always the trend. There's no no matter how bad it gets, when the stock market's real high one day and then there's a big crash, everyone gets hysterical. But if you look at if they could look at their crystal ball 10 years in the future, it will still be higher than it was right before that crash.
Huh. Okay.
Historically speaking. Now, look, something could happen, and that may not always be the case, but
no.
Well, that's not how they handle it.
Capitalism is always creating value. It's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people find a way, and I mean that's also the truth. Is that really the government has some.
I think we're ready to go. All right. Now.
Woo!
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
And welcome to the show on this Wednesday, December the 3rd. Yes, we are into December already, and it's a cloudy day here in Las Vegas. I'm Heather Vale, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Amernick and Rick Raddatz. Amernick is a strategic planner who helps his clients create and implement plans, goals, tactics, and benchmarks. And he's also the bridge in Nevada for Israeli companies who want to expand their businesses in the U.S. He also has a development lab that creates smartphone apps and inventions. Rick Raddatz is a serial entrepreneur and internet marketer with a degree in philosophy. His political development is called The Solution, which is to cap and prioritize government spending. I'm Heather Vale, also known as The Unwrapper, a freelance interviewer and journalist in all media. Guys, welcome to the show today.
Hello.
Hey.
Good morning, all.
Hello. So it's starting to look like winter here in Vegas, which is unusual. It's actually starting to look like Oregon in Las Vegas. It's cold, it's cloudy, it's rainy. Kind of reminds me of being in Oregon, but yeah.
It's a little, it's a little, not
gloomy.
foreboding, but a little, it's a little gloomy.
Yeah.
Gloomy.
How is it in Colorado, Rick? Are you back in Colorado? Looks like it.
I'm back in Colorado. It is typical Colorado, just a little chilly, but nothing big going on.
Dry.
Yeah. Not too exciting.
Really? Okay, you must be able to pull out some kind of exciting story for us.
Nope.
Nothing?
No.
He's got nothing, Jay. It's up to you. What's going on?
What is going on? Last night I was actually at a charity event, which was very nice. It's for an organization called Dress for Success, and what they do is, Heather, you will actually appreciate this. They work with women who have come out of a very bad situation, no matter what it is, having been homeless or an abusive relationship or whatever the bad situation is, and help them. Kind of get back on their feet. Some of them, who for instance, not to be sexist, but have been in a marriage and never had been out in the working world and now have to do that. So now they have to learn how to kind of dress and present themselves in a professional manner, and this organization helps them do that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the sexist part was saying that the women were in the home, but there are cases like that, and they're in a bad relationship and they have to get out, or they've been homeless and never had a job. Yeah,
especially stereotypically in an abusive relationship, that's part of abuse is the abuser, which I'm going to call the man because 98% of the time it is a man. Part of the abuse is keeping her segregated from society, which includes not letting her work so she doesn't have her own means of finances, controlling the finances, that sort of thing. So there's all kinds of, we think of physical abuse when we think about domestic violence, but there's financial abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, mental abuse, and it all goes together into the package. So yeah, that sounds like a great organization. You didn't invite me.
I didn't know that I was necessarily going until sort of right before, and a friend of mine, Kimberly Miles, who is on the board of directors there, was like, "You're coming to the foundation room tonight. It's Dress for Success." And I said, "All right, I'm coming." I really wasn't going to go. I was exhausted, and I really wasn't feeling it. But if it was for them, it's a good cause and a good organization and a very nice group of people as well. So that's those three don't always connect. So it was very nice and a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. And so for the Hangout viewers that caught us before the show, they heard us talking about David Copperfield, and the reason why is because I'm going to see David Copperfield tonight, and Jay has an invitation to join me if he's not going to all these many events that he's constantly going to. So yeah, I got four comp tickets to see David Copperfield. This is what happens in Vegas every now and then. You get last-minute comps. So yeah, so me, my boyfriend, and a couple other people. Should be fun. All right, so let's get into the solution. I'm sure that people watching and listening are wondering what the heck do we mean when we say cap and prioritize government spending. So, Rick, give us the nutshell. What the hell is the what the heck?
What the hell is this philosophy?
We're working blue here.
Welcome
to the dirty show.
Oh, well, this is online radio. I think we're allowed to say that.
Well, of course, but we try to, comport ourselves and
What
behave like,
What a sort of what the hell? I mean, yes.
Actually, that's a good slogan. I think that should be the next T-shirt. What the hell is the solution?
Yeah.
I like
whatthehellnoctor.org is our.
it involves grandma on top. That's all I know.
Okay. Well, here the hell is the solution.
Okay, cool.
Well, first, what's the problem? The problem is we have the political right wants a very limited government, the political left wants a very helpful government, and nobody has ever figured out how to do both at the same time, and so we fight. So what's the solution? The solution, it turns out, is to use the limits that the right wants in a new way. It's kind of interesting here. You see, if we keep the purchasing power of government money the same over time, meaning we allow it to grow a little bit every year to keep pace with population and inflation, then that'll keep the right happy because the economy grows faster and the cost of government effectively goes down. Taxes can go down. But at the same time, if we take that constant purchasing power and we take all the spending we want to do and we prioritize it so that ideas have to compete, and then every year we reprioritize, we will find better and better ways to use that constant purchasing power. And what that means is that we are now constantly improving how well government helps people as we are constantly shrinking how big government is relative to our economy. And so there's no compromise here. This is the solution. This is the way we achieve the right-leaning goals of limited government and the left-leaning goals of a very helpful government at the same time without compromise.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
So, Jay, it kind of seems like Dress for Success is capping and prioritizing in a way. They're choosing which women to help, and they're giving them limited help, but enough help to let them take over and thrive on their own.
Well, partially. I mean, any good 501c3 has a mission, and a really good one has a laser focus and doesn't try to do too many things. And they have a very specific purview. You went into a lot about sort of what makes an abusive relationship and the different types and some statistics and things like that. That's not their issue, although I'm sure that the staff is probably well versed and educated on those issues. But they're not concerned with what brought you to them. They're concerned with how do we move on from here. It's someone else's job, I think, to do the counseling or and handle the mental aspect of it. They handle sort of this this piece of it. So they've capped and prioritized again. Yes, because what they've done is they said, okay, we can raise X amount of dollars, and with that, this is what we should do. Not worry about all the other stuff. Let somebody else handle that. This is what we can do with our limited budget and our limited resources.
Basically, what they're doing is what I call giving a hand up rather than a hand out. And I mean, there is a limited hand out in that. There's an original handout. Okay, here we're going to give you this, but it's really giving them a hand up so that they're not reliant on ongoing help, which in essence is kind of how I see cap and prioritize, so that people are being prioritized through the system to the point where they don't need that help anymore, and the priority goes to someone else who does.
Right. Well, they offer free workshops and things like that. So those which are great, and those are actually very scalable because whether one person shows up or whether 100 people show up, they are, it's the same cost for them. So that is a good use of their money.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, it turns out pretty much everything that has the power to make a decision. An individual, a family, a corporation, a group of some kind, a government, every entity that can make a decision unavoidably works on some kind of cap and prioritize basis. The only question is how good is the cap and how good is the prioritizing. So even our federal government, I mean, there is a limit to how much it can spend. And so it is capped in some way, it's just capped too high. When left-leaning moderates think we've spent too much, then yes, we've spent too much. The problem is that left-leaning moderates have too high of a pain threshold in terms of government spending, and so they don't feel the pain. They don't feel like we spent too much until we really have. So we need to have a limit that's a little bit more tight than the political left or the moderate left might normally want. And the way to earn their support is by adding in the prioritizing idea, where, okay, now here's our money that we can sustain. Now let's keep on prioritizing it so we find better ways to use it. That will make people, especially the moderate left, but even the far left, if you look at the long-term trend here of helping people better and better and better. But this is what will allow left-leaning people to say, you know what? Okay, I can agree with this structure. Yes, we're capped tighter than I want to be, but we're also helping people better and better every year. So this works for me, and it works for the right. Let's do it. That's how this is going to happen eventually.
Right. Yeah. Well, and sort of the big trick is actually going to be, because there's and again, we talked about sort of the fringes you're never going to get, because there's a far enough left that believe that there's no such thing as too much government spending, because the rich people have somehow gotten that money at the expense of all the poor people, so the government should take it back and reallocate it. So, which is pure nonsense. But you're never going to convince them. They are too whacked out. And then on the right, you're going to have the similar thing. Okay. Hey, look at that. It disagrees.
He agrees?
Beautiful.
No,
he disagrees.
Like never.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Never is always dangerous, because here's the thing: if you look at the long-term trend line of history, it's always up. You were talking about this in the stock market. You have to average it over 10 years, but if you look at human history over centuries, we get better. We figure things out. But what does that mean? That means that we're trending towards the ideal. Now, it might take a while to get there, and it might be harder and harder to improve once we get closer, just because we're doing it so well. But we're constantly improving, and it's for a very simple reason. Things that work stick, and things that fail fade away. And so
is this the throw the spaghetti at the wall method?
Well, no. Evolution based on DNA is the throw the spaghetti at the wall method. That's total, random chance. But then things that work stick, things that fail fade away. With the evolution of society and especially of our government structure, those are things we have a little bit of control over. It's hard because we all have to kind of get a majority and then fight for a change, and it's not easy, but we can kind of design it, and then once we get a design we like and we can sell, then it can happen. And it may not happen here first, but as long as it happens somewhere and works, then it spreads.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Jay, agree or disagree?
Partially agree, partially disagree. And again, okay, so I would. There's certain things that that the government does that don't work, and all they do is get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now that just means they haven't faded away yet. Am I correct in saying that, Rick?
It's kind of like the run-up to the Civil War. You might say, oh, tensions are getting worse and worse and worse. Well, yeah, but if you look at the bigger picture, we're preparing to finally solve this big question of slavery. Okay. And so, yeah, government spending is getting worse and worse and worse from the point of view of a conservative. Okay. But we're getting more and more ideological. We're getting more and more passionate. The right is going to be, both sides are being more and more uncompromising. And this is all part of the big fight that's going to happen when we realize, oh, we can all get what we want if only we do this. And then that's when it happens.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the top story. So we'll be back with you in a few minutes on the Political Fix. Speaking freely.
Oh, there we go. Speaking freely.
Yeah. Jay, are you drinking something with ice in it?
Yeah. Iced coffee.
Iced coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Why? Because when I live alone, I make a pot of coffee,
no,
and
that's so sad.
I make a pot of coffee,
and it gets cold.
And yeah, and I don't, I'm not going to throw it out. So it's, so this is, sort of yesterday's, and yeah. And I put it on ice because I don't want to reheat it. There's some reheated microwave coffee is like, I can't do it. And I like a nice, and let's be honest. I mean, it's not the it's not Ely Cafe here. It's it's chock full of nuts or whatever it is, and so it's not so so put it on ice and it
You could always get one of those single serve coffee makers.
Yeah, no, I don't like those.
Okay. Okay.
No, I'm not a fan of those.
All right.
It's in hopes that one day I'll have someone here to share my pot of coffee with.
That is so sad.
Oh, God. And if that doesn't work out, instead of this, I can just put some arsenic in it. And
Get one of those ex-strippers that learns how to dress well, and you're all set. So you should go to the event tonight.
No, that was last night.
This is now.
That was last night.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, that was last night.
This is turned. No, I got to think tonight. I'm supposed to go. The behind the scenes has now turned into like the celebrity roast. Okay.
Okay,
What
back
happened?
to the
All right.
Please, God, please, back to the show.
Welcome back to The Political Fix. I'm Heather Vale, here with my co-hosts Jay Amernick and Rick Raddatz. And before the break, Rick was telling us about the solution, capping and prioritizing government spending, and why it makes everybody happy. It serves the needs of all human race. Yeah. And we had some agreement, some disagreement, but overall, everyone agrees that it's a good thing and that it will be better for our society, better for our country moving forward. Once Rick can convince people in power that they need to actually implement this, which so far has not happened.
No. Hey, I convinced a very big name. I don't know if I told you guys this. Did I tell you this?
You did not.
There's a famous economist. When I say famous, I mean this is an economist that's invited to speak at like the World Economic Summit. Okay, so there's a famous economist who is on board. So as soon as we launch the new website, he is going to be promoting it, and and his name attached to it is going to force his peers to at least take a look.
Nice.
And so we are starting to move. That's the first big win.
Sounds great. Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so on to the top story. Now, this is a story that we briefly touched on last week for a few seconds, but more has happened and the plot has thickened. So, from Los Angeles, a lawsuit by a woman who claims Bill Cosby molested her when she was 15 years old has moved allegations of sexual misconduct against the comedian from the court of public opinion into the courthouse. Judy Huth's lawsuit, filed yesterday in Los Angeles, accuses Cosby of forcing her to perform a sex act on him in a bedroom of the Playboy Mansion around 1974. She's the latest woman to accuse the comedian of sex abuse and is the first one since 2005 to file a lawsuit. Cosby has been beset for weeks by allegations from more than a dozen women that he drugged and sexually assaulted them in incidents spanning several decades. The comedian has not been criminally charged, and many of the claims are so old they're barred by statutes of limitations. Huth's lawsuit, however, contends that she became aware of the serious effect the abuse had on her within the past 3 years. Now, California law allows victims of sex abuse when they were minors to bring a claim after adulthood if they discover later in life that they suffered psychological injuries as a result of the abuse. Cosby has not been criminally charged, but Netflix and NBC have scuttled projects featuring him, and several shows on his comedy tour have also been canceled. His attorney, Martin Singer, did not return an email message seeking comment last night. Huth's sexual battery and infliction of emotional distress lawsuit states that she and a 16-year-old friend first met Cosby at a Los Angeles area film shoot, and he gave the girls drinks a week later at a tennis club. It also states that Cosby took them to the Playboy Mansion after several drinks and told the teenagers to lie and say that they were 19 years old if asked. Her lawsuit states that Cosby forced her to perform a sex act on him with her hand. Huth's lawsuit, filed in Los Angeles Superior Court, is the first time a woman has gone public claiming Cosby abused her when she was underage. A second woman told Pittsburgh television station KDKA last month that Cosby drugged her to the point of unconsciousness in the 1980s when she was 15 as well. This suit does not specify how much Huth is seeking from Cosby. In 2005, Andrea Constant also sued Cosby, claiming he drugged and molested her at his suburban Philadelphia mansion in 2004. Cosby and Constant, who worked for the women's basketball team at Temple University, settled the case before trial. Cosby resigned from the university's board of trustees on Monday. He had been the school's public face, appearing in advertisements, fundraising campaigns, and delivering commencement speeches. So, guys, what do you think? Jay?
Obviously, I said this last week when we touched on it, and it's if all these allegations are true, it's incredibly sad. First and foremost, for the victims of this, and secondly, Bill Cosby was and is, and see how this all plays out. Such a positive force, such a positive role model. And was someone I looked up to growing up, in all his not only his his comedy albums, but on I Spy and on the Bill Cosby Show, which predated the Cosby Show. It's just it's mind-boggling, and it's one of those things. I think we talk about. I think they call it cognitive dissonance, where people sort of believe something as fact when it's actually sort of opinion or not fact, and then when you tear it down, it sort of messes with your head a bit, and that's sort of what's happening to me personally with all this. So, as someone I looked up to, it's hard to believe. I don't want to believe it, but it seems to be. Unfortunately, very true, and it's a tragedy for all the victims of this.
And this isn't the only time that we've heard stories that cause cognitive dissonance. We've heard about priests and their abuse of young boys. We've heard about other celebrities who took advantage of.
Okay,
but
OJ, yeah, we've heard about.
But Bill Cosby.
Kids TV hosts who allegedly abused kids or had a drinking problem or had a drug issue or had got involved in some kind of sexual thing. We've heard this kind of story before. We're humans. People have both sides. So
right, no, but
the interesting part to me, the interesting thing to me is that when we see someone in the more positive light that we see someone in, the more negative it seems to be when it comes out that there's a negative side. If we see someone kind of in the middle, in the moderate, it's like, okay, yeah, they're pretty good, and sometimes they do stuff that's a little bad. But when we put someone on a pedestal, that's when it seems to happen that we find out, wow, I didn't know about that side.
Yeah. But Bill Cosby again, was on that pedestal and was very. He was special. He had, he broke down a lot of, race barriers. He was a revolutionary character on I Spy. He was the intellectual one, and Bob Culp was the sort of dumb jock. It was a big deal.
And he was the ultimate parent for many parents who were raising their kids.
On the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on the Bill Cosby Show, he played a coach, basketball coach, Chet Kincaid, and sort of kind of like an inner city school with a whole different group of ethnic kids, and and it was one of those things everybody got along, and he didn't shy away from stuff. It was really a good show, and it's just I hope that we can sort of still look back at those shows and sort of forget this horribleness, and still take from the art the positive aspects of it.
Never
not to discount what he has done.
Never.
I know.
No.
Okay.
Really, Rick? Do you think that possibly maybe someday that could ever?
And I thought you said to never say never.
Right.
We just had a conversation where I rallied or ranted against the word never. In this case, never. This guy is the most, in my belief, based on what I've seen and heard, I should say read and heard, is the most successful serial rapist ever alive. There's so many credible witnesses that have come out, people who, have careers and have things to lose, that have no reason to come out in this way, but they're coming out now because it's gotten to the point where if they don't come out, then they feel guilty for not coming out and helping support the other people who are brave enough to come out. So, and with the MO being the same across all of these, I mean, you have, I think, how old is the oldest one? I mean, they're in their 60s and 70s, some of them, I think. Women this age don't go out and make up stories to get famous. Okay, maybe the odd one does. Not, we're up to 20 now. 20.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my conclusion, this guy is the most successful serial rapist ever, and so we have to look at all of those shows as his cover. Now, it's unfortunate because he was delivering a whole bunch of positive messages, but that was part of his cover.
Okay, but we can look at the message and not the messenger.
Oh yeah, no, it's dangerous calling someone a hypocrite, because you can only call people with the right message a hypocrite, or attempting the right message. It's people who are trying to make the world a better place, and then they fail personally. Yeah, they're a hypocrite, but the other side is trying to make the world a worse place. Okay,
right.
On purpose or by accident. So I mean, people who have the wrong philosophy and just be pursuing the wrong thing. But typically the philosophy of, hey, there's no right and wrong, do what you want, it's all relative, different cultures have different rules, and so there are no rules. This kind of thinking leads to like Hitler and Stalin and Mao and the worst kinds of people in the world, because these kinds of approaches forgive the abuse of power in the name of good, and it just as soon as you allow all that power to concentrate, it all goes bad. So in this case,
if people were to look at his shows and say, "Oh no, he still gave us great positive messages," then you see that as endorsing the rape, basically.
Well, no, it's just that in the case of Bill Cosby, the two, the message and the private acts of apparently rape, they come together in one figure, Bill Cosby, and you can't separate the two.
Right.
So I mean, it's almost because he's too much of a personality. He's too much of a brand. You just can't separate him from his acting or from his message. He doesn't play a part. He's Bill Cosby as Bill Cosby.
Yes. Yes.
So it is a tragedy. It speaks to the fact that humans aren't perfect, absolutely, but I mean, this whole thing is poison water.
Yeah. So how could Cap and Prioritize fix this in the future?
Well, remember earlier in the show I was saying how the trend line for humanity is up. Okay?
Yes.
Well, in societies that are more mature, okay, we actually have less of this kind of problem than societies that are less mature. You think of, like, underage sex trafficking, a little bit of it's happening all over the world, but most of it's happening in Zimbabwe, or the other countries that have the least ability to control society. So this kind of stuff is always going to happen because people are people. Freedom means the ability to make choices and be places without monitoring and oversight by the police 24/7 unless we suspect you for something. And those kinds of pockets of freedom allow predators to prey too. So there's always going to be some element of this, but we can expect that with a more mature society, for whatever reasons, we'll get less of it. And let me give you a more concrete example. Right now, growing up, you expect, or actually like a generation ago growing up, you expected Social Security to be there for you. Okay, I mean, it was the promise that society's made to you.
Yeah.
And so you can relax a little bit about retirement and all that kind of stuff, because at the worst case, you're going to be fine. Half the people under 30 do not believe that Social Security will be there for them. What that actually means is, at least for them, the age of entitlement is over, because they don't feel entitled. They don't think it's going to be there. They feel lied to, and they don't think it's going to be there. And so these people have to adopt a philosophy of life that involves more personal responsibility. Now, if we carry that forward a generation or three, and we have Cap and Prioritize running, if you're growing up under Cap and Prioritize, the money's still there to help people, but it only goes to people who truly need help most. It only helps them in ways that help them get back on their feet. It only helps them, presumably, for a short time, unless they're truly incapable. So what that means is that if you're a normal person with normal capabilities, you have to adopt this feeling of personal responsibility for your whole life. And in that kind of society where everyone is feeling this pressure to be personally responsible, you're going to have more responsibility. You're going to have you're going to feel more comfortable coming out when something like this happens. You're going to feel more pressure not to do it because of that, and the whole thing will just get better.
Okay. Well, that's a nice positive note to end the segment on. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have Inside Perspective with Jay Amernick. We'll be back with you in a few minutes on The Political Fix. Cool.
Speaking freely.
I always speak freely.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's part of the show. It really is interesting, though, how it's like the higher on a pedestal we put someone, the more positive aspects we attribute to somebody, or the more positive their messages that they give to society. It seems that the more extreme the positive, then it ends up the more extreme the negative, which they do a good job of hiding usually, but when the negative comes out, it's like so horrendous that it's like, what? How?
That's not always the case. I'll give you an exception to that. Fred Rogers.
Who?
Well, Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Oh, Mr. Rogers, yeah.
Yeah, I knew people that worked with him, and they were like, "Oh my God, he's really like that." And obviously he's since passed away.
I heard he was an alcoholic though. He's not?
No,
he wasn't.
No, it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah, Mother Teresa is actually a good example, Rick. We don't actually know if Mother Teresa did anything negative, but we haven't heard anything, so
Mother Teresa, she had times when she questioned her faith, and she felt kind of pressure to keep on doing things. I hear. Longer than she wanted to, but clearly her heart was in the right place.
Yeah.
And no one does that. Okay, back to the show.
All right, back to the show.
Enough freely speaking.
Welcome back to The Political Fix. I'm Heather Vale, here with my co-hosts Jay Amernick and Rick Raddatz. And before the break, we were talking about the top story, which is the ongoing saga of Bill Cosby and what Rick Raddatz calls the most successful serial rapist of all time. Also how capping and prioritizing can move our society in a positive direction overall that will stop that kind of activity in the long run.
Well,
not right away. It's not a quick fix. It's not a magic pill. But
never say never. So don't say stop, but I'll say dramatically reduce.
Okay. All right. We like dramatically reduce.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a segment called Inside Perspective with Jay Amernick because Jay is the show's insider. He has insider knowledge of how the government works. And he's going to give us what his inside perspective is for the week. So take it away, Jay.
Yes, I'm fixated on this on the silliness and the decontextualized memes that are infiltrating the
Facebook
the universe.
Again? Really?
Yes, my God. Yeah, yes, everything. My God. This time the right is going to get it from me. I saw it was a meme. It was talking about. Our ambassador who was murdered in Benghazi, Libya, and the first frame is doesn't get a Marine security detail, and the next one is a picture of Valerie Jarrett, who, for those of you who don't know, is a close confidant of the not only the president but the Obamas as well as a close family friend. Had a Secret Service detail in Martha's Vineyard. First of all, both of those things are ridiculous. Yes, the ambassador should have had a security detail. I have no idea why he didn't. I have no idea why Valerie Jarrett had a Secret Service detail. But that being said, the two actually have nothing to do with each other. Someone gets a Secret Service detail because the president says you get a Secret Service detail, and you will continue to get a Secret Service detail until the president of the United States says no more. The Marine detail is a sort of weird, not weird. It's well, yes, anytime two government agencies have to get together, it's weird, just because they don't play well together. Between the State Department and the Department of Defense says, okay, this is how things work. I have no idea why they sent the ambassador to such a hot zone as Benghazi, and why we even had a consul in Benghazi. It doesn't make much sense either, but that's for a different story. He should have had security. Quite frankly, any American walking around Benghazi, Libya, should have a security detail, and if it's the United States Marine Corps, all the better. But my point was that these things are unrelated. It's been decontextualized by this case to try to sort of take a shot at the president of the United States, and it's nonsense. One may be the president overreaching and giving a friend of his Secret Service detail. On the other hand, he may know of some death threat that requires her to have that, and the other one seems to be some kind of huge error on both the State Department and the Department of Defense's part. So that is, and how Cap and Prioritize fixes that, because it shaves off all the nonsense from government, and we can focus on little things, and things like a security detail for an ambassador in a hot zone do not get lost, and there's more transparency, and the president may have to explain without giving away any sensitive information why someone who has no official role in the government gets a Secret Service detail at the taxpayer's expense, if there's a legitimate reason for her safety. So.
Okay. Rick, what are your thoughts?
I am shocked. I'm shocked that there's politics going on in Washington. Yeah, so okay, my issue with Jay's Inside Perspective this week is that it's so unshocking that there's politics going on that it's not worthy of Jay. Jay...
No, okay, perhaps I got a little sidetracked. My point was that until people get smarter and stop decontextualizing things to try to take a political shot, and it's more noise and it's more static out there. That's just it's a cacophony, and we can't get to real issues and really understanding why something does something. And just this week I happened to take on the right because I've been taking on the left for the past couple of weeks, so I had to find something. Yeah, no,
and
this was a good one.
A more serious reaction is I absolutely agree that there's politics going on, and I agree that is one of the enemies we have to fight against. We have to be the movement that helps people understand just how worthless all of that political commentary is, all the political messaging is, all the political posturing, all the political games. But we also have to help people understand that the reason why it happens is because the incentives are wrong. It's not because the people themselves are evil or greedy or corrupt or trying to hurt the system, etc. No, they're trying their best to help make happen what they think has to happen. On the right, it's about limits. We know limits are needed. And on the left, it's about helping people, and we know that helping people is needed also via the government. And so both sides have a point. We have to be the movement that helps people understand that here's how these 2 points fit together, cap and prioritize. And so then all of those political posturing efforts on both sides, they lose all their energy. We can look at it now, and we know exactly why it's happening, and we can laugh. And we laugh in part because we know exactly how useless it is, and how ineffective it is, and how it's all about a trap. Engaging in the current political system, ironically, is kind of a trap. That's why it doesn't matter who you vote for. What matters is, do you sign up for cap and prioritize? Are you part of this movement? Because if you are, then you're helping spread the understanding that will help us transition out of this left-right battle into the next battle, whatever that is. But the whole point is we need to move beyond this, and cap and prioritize is the way we do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and instead of cap and prioritize right now, what we have is divide and conquer. And it seems to be working very well for them.
Well, it's not even conquer, though. It's just divide and struggle.
Continue.
It's
So,
it's
so
divide and fight.
Rick, if someone asks you, do people ask you when you present cap and prioritize, when you present the solution, do they ask you if this is a new political party?
Sometimes, yeah.
And then what do you tell them?
I tell them it's all about taking that swing voter and helping them decide the fate of the country. So we are the swing party, and we have the best parties.
The swing party? Wow. I like that.
Yeah, no, I'm being funny, but I actually own swingparty.org.
Do you really?
Use that. I do. Yeah.
Oh, dear God.
Because it's about swing voters, right? And we throw the best parties. That's our swing line.
It's a swing party and grandma's on top. Yeah.
And grandma's on top. Yeah. Because she gets prioritized.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
We've now come apart at the seams.
Well, I mean, you guys are talking about divide and conquer. You know how people do like to see themselves under a certain umbrella. They like to identify themselves as being more left or more right. The moderates say, okay, well, I go either way depending on whatever the situation is, whatever the issues are at the time. But a lot of people like to identify themselves with extremes, extreme right or extreme left, and because of that, there may be an issue with getting people on board with cap and prioritize, because if the left sees it as something that the right likes, or the right sees it as something that the left likes, there's friction there, there's resistance.
Okay, a couple of points on that. One is, I don't think we need a new party, because let's say we have our movement getting some traction, okay, and we're starting to build. Well, we're going to have a little bit from the left, a little bit from the right, a little bit from the middle. And just because of the numbers, there'll be a lot of people in the middle, because, I mean, there are very few people so far right that they don't understand the need to have some sort of negotiation. And there's very few people who are so far left that they believe there shouldn't be any negotiation. Most people believe in what they believe in, but they also believe that there's got to be a negotiation. And so that's the people who are going to see cap and prioritize as the best thing we're going to negotiate. And so whether they're a purist on the right or purist on the left, at least they're being pragmatic about it. So I see this as being a union of moderates, independents, and pragmatic purists. If you turn that into an acronym, we are the MIPS.
This is getting better and better.
The MIPS.
The swing party with the MIPS.
MIPS unite.
And I think there's also there's from an efficacy standpoint much more value in making this an issue and working within the existing political parties, because trying to tumble the whole thing down, bring in a new party, and get people to abandon ship is very difficult. I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, because Rick will jump down my throat, but you're adding more process to the process. It's easier to make this, and more effective to make this an issue, and work with the right and work with the left, the Democrats and the Republicans and the moderates. Yeah,
let's imagine that the MIPS, the moderates, independents, and pragmatic purists, which is essentially is the middle, if the middle starts to unite behind this idea, before we get more than 1 million MIPS, we are going to attract the attention of both the left and the right. And if we start to get real momentum, they're going to co-opt our idea, claim it was theirs all along. Oh, we've always been for prioritizing. Check out this video. We've been talking about priorities for years. Yeah, we've been talking about prioritizing and priorities, but we haven't actually prioritized. Okay. To be fair, the federal government does prioritize its defense spending with the help of the Pentagon, and it prioritizes a lot of the easier spending with the help of subcommittees. But 2/3 of the budget at the federal level is for social programs, and these social programs all have their definitions, and they stay that way until they get changed. And so none of these programs are prioritized. They don't prioritize who we help, and we don't prioritize how well they're working. Because if we have 15 different programs for helping the homeless, which one's getting better results? We aren't doing that research. And it's not politically important, because we aren't forcing government to prioritize.
Right. Yes, Rick's exactly right. There are no metrics by which they measure themselves, and they just keep going along. All they say is, well, we just need more money to do it. And they come at it from this great, not great. Well, from a defense standpoint, they just say like, oh well, yeah, we need more money for this, and somebody stands up and says, no, this program doesn't work. It should be terminated, and they stand up and say, oh, so and so senator says he's against the homeless because he wants to do away with this program. Nobody looks at ethics. Nobody looks at, do these things actually work, or is it just feel good? The Government Institute for Homeless Persons. Hey, well, what do they really do? They do absolutely nothing. I don't know. I just made that organization up. That doesn't exist, but it was an example.
Okay, so we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, if you haven't heard Rick rant enough during this show, you're going to get a chance to hear him rant again. We're going to have an outside perspective, a.k.a. Rick's rant, when we come back in a few minutes on the Political Fix.
All right.
Yeah, this is a pretty ranty show. We've had a lot of rants today already.
Yeah.
What?
Very good.
Spirited. Yes. Spirited.
That's what I said.
Spirited and ranty.
From a technical standpoint, everything's good. Oh, so
nobody wants to speak freely this time. Just chill.
Well, what do we want to talk about? I
don't know.
I'm building my energy for the rant.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got to focus on the rant.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so no, we're taking a 2-week hiatus, correct? Next
or lesson here.
Okay.
Yeah, the 24th and the 31st. Right? 3 weeks.
Okay, right, yeah. So before that, my inside perspective, I know what it's going to be. It's going to be something
we got two more
over the holidays.
Okay, we got two more shows before
two more
the
shows,
hiatus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So 2 weeks from now, I'm going to rant against Santa Claus. I don't know how yet, but that's going to be my rant.
Okay, cool.
I'll figure it out.
All right, we're ready whenever, Doug.
Someone's getting coal in their stocking.
Welcome back to the Political Fix. I'm Heather Vale here with my co-hosts Jay Amernick and Rick Raddatz. Before the break, we had inside perspective with Jay Amernick. Now it's time to flip the coin and go for the outside perspective, which we like to affectionately call Rick's rant. So, Rick, take it away. Give us your rant.
My rant today is about all the people on the political left who think the problem with this country is that the political right is too greedy. Okay? Because it's greedy to vote for limits on government. It's greedy to vote to throw grandma off the cliff or whatever. Okay, here's the deal. Let's imagine a country full of honestly genuine, okay, people whose primary motivation is they want to help other people. Okay? You're still going to have a government, in part because you're going to disagree about how to be generous. Okay? You're still going to disagree on whether or not capitalism is the best way to be generous and help people, or whether government is the best way to be generous and help people. Okay, that disagreement will still be there. And so we're still going to have a left and a right. But now in this imaginary world, it's all populated with generous people trying to help people. And we just have this honest disagreement. Okay? So even if there is greed on the right or greed on the left or whatever, okay, fine, that exists, but that's not the root cause. Because we've just imagined a government or a country full of generous people, and we still have the same divide. Is capitalism only the answer, or is all government communism, the answer, or some sort of hybrid the answer? And if it is a hybrid, how do we make what government we have actually work? Because is anybody, left, right, or center, happy with the government we have now? I don't think so. The right wants our government to spend less. The left wants our government to have better results. And the middle wants the government to spend less and have better results. They're the most idealistic of all, in the middle. So the answer here, again, is cap and prioritize, where we limit government so it's sustainable at least, And again, our ideal balance point is where we keep the purchasing power of government the same over time, because that way our economy grows faster and the size of government shrinks as a percentage of our economy. In parallel, we take this constant purchasing power and we prioritize it. We rank it from top to bottom so the best stuff wins, and we help the people who need help most, and we help them with ideas that help them most, and we get better and better spending that constant purchasing power. And one final thing, to those of you who say Congress can't prioritize a budget, it can't even publish a budget, I agree. And that's why Congress should not be the body that prioritizes social spending. All the money we spend on social services, social programs of all kinds, should be divided up among the states so that each state can experiment for how best to prioritize for their population. And if they can't figure it out, great. Just give the people of that state a refund, okay, in proportion to how they paid federal taxes. If that was the law of the land, all the libertarians would move to one state and get a refund. And then we'd have 49 experiments for how best to prioritize government spending. And so notice this has nothing to do with greed. It has everything to do with how best to help people. There you go.
All right. Very inspiring. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, again, this goes back to my inside perspective about decontextualizing things, because we so demonized each other on either side that the people actually believe it. That again, the left believes that the right is greedy and yes, and racist too. Which is certainly news to Alan West and Mia Love. But whatever.
Bill Cosby.
Yes. So getting away from that, and again, Rick said that the left wants the government to be more effective. I don't know that that's entirely true. I don't know that they're at the level of looking actually at efficacy yet. If they were, they would be more on board right away with cap and prioritize, because they would demand results. What they say is that to get better results, and they're not really looking at the issue, is you take more money from the rich people and give it to these programs.
Okay.
That's it. And because in their view, the rich people did not get that money honestly. They got it at the expense of the poor people, which is pure nonsense.
So it's the Robin Hood approach.
I want to respond to that. That's a really good point, and I want to respond to it. And I'm talking about the idea that the left doesn't want results. Okay. Let's be real specific. The left doesn't believe that capitalism alone will produce the results they want. They see capitalism alone as producing even greater inequality. Even if it helps the poor, it's still not fair. Okay? And capitalism tends to ignore the people that need help most, because they can't be good employees and they can't be good customers. Okay? So capitalism really ignores the people who need help most. And whatever charity there might be, that's great, but we have this power to collect money through government. It's there. How can we spend it? Now, so what the left wants, I believe, I'm talking about the voters in the left here. Okay, the activists on the left, the politicians on the left, maybe they want power, maybe they enjoy the fame, maybe they enjoy the positions of power, and maybe they really want to help people. Who knows? But what I'm certain of is that the people on the left, they really do want to help people. That's why they're voting that way. They either want to be helped themselves or they want to help people they care about. Or they want to help the people that they think they're going to become someday. If they're worried about retirement themselves, they want Social Security to be fully funded. So I think the desire is there, but they don't want better results for capitalism. They want better results in government. Now, how to do that? Big argument. No one's ever figured it out until now. Cap and prioritize is the answer, because it's not about any one answer. It's about these ideas competing, and the best ideas winning.
Okay.
Did we lose Jay?
Jay, thoughts?
Okay.
Okay. I think we're losing Jay.
Connection is gone.
Jay sounds like he's underwater.
Yeah, this is clearly the end of the fall of Jay. He's fallen now, and now it's Yeah.
He's trying to get back up. He's trying to...
Skype deprioritized Jay. So this is like a cap and prioritize. It can only handle two people. and so Jay was deprioritized. Sorry, Jay.
Yeah. Well, okay, was he deprioritized or was he capped?
Well, the two work together, don't they? Because if you prioritize spending and you have all these ideas competing, it only constantly improves if someone falls off the cliff, if someone gets defunded, because that defunding creates funding now for a better idea. And so
why can't it just be less funding for the same number of things? Like, why does it have to be, okay, 3 things get this much funding rather than 10 things get this much funding?
Okay. Yeah, we could keep on doing all the things we're doing and just decide that in that case, if we're keeping everything the same, then we would keep on raising everyone's funding a little bit every year. But the truth is, the world is more dynamic than that. You know, our needs change.
But there's 2 ways to cap and prioritize. There's prioritizing by saying, okay, all these things get no funding, and only these 3 things are going to get any funding, and they get all of it. Or they're saying, okay, let's spread the wealth a little bit, and we're still allocating the same amount of funds, but everybody gets a little bit less because that's how we're capping it.
Yeah. If you think about our economy, how the bigger it gets, the more mature it gets, the more varied it gets. Okay, I predict the same thing will happen with cap and prioritize, where the federal government will be pushing the money down to the states. They have every state do their own prioritizing, and so we'll be doing 50 different versions of how to help people. So we will never be in your scenario where there's only a few things that kind of get all the money. You know, no matter what.
I'm just making a clear example. I'm not shelling it. So
but no
let's just say 300 instead of 3. Like, it could be whatever the number happens to be.
But my point is, there'll be 50 different experiments, and so there'll be 50 different sets of 3. There's no way that those all going to be the same things unless they happen to get amazing results. But with 50 different experiments, we can predict a whole lot of variety. Some states will get better at prioritizing who we help. Some states will be better at prioritizing how well we help them. Some states will be better at leveraging capitalism and privatizing things and doing vouchers to fill in the gaps. Other states will find success in actually creating the structures themselves, creating the schools, maintaining them, and so on, just doing them better. My personal prediction is that this is a trend towards letting capitalism do more and more things that it does best, meaning make things better, faster, cheaper, stronger. And then in parallel, we have vouchers more and more that help people get the education, the clothing, the health care, etc. that they need. And it all depends on their situation. Did you just lose a job? And are you trying hard to get a job again? You know, are you permanently incapacitated or just temporarily? You know, are you trying to abuse the system or not? You know, all of these, how many kids do you have? All these things will come into a factor, and we will learn how best to help people.
Okay. Well, we're pretty much out of time here on the show, and we could possibly ask Jay if he had a brief comment, but it has to be brief.
You're back.
I can hear you. Yes. Yes. That's
Life.
cool. I think we're. Jay agrees with most of what Rick said. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
On that note,
thanks for watching The Political Fix. Thanks for listening to us on the radio. We will be back with you next week at the same time in the same place. On behalf of myself, Jay Amernick and Rick Raddatz, thank you for tuning in. I'm Heather Vale. Have a fantastic week. All right. We did it. Jay is not on the Hangout, so. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Cool.
hey guys, I'll give you a quick status of my progress here on the movement. side.
Okay. Do you want it? Do you want it broadcast on the Hangout, or do you want me to stop it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
So let's see. We have the animators signed and paid for, and their copywriter is working on. I sent them like 4 or 5 different scripts for how we might introduce this in the video, and so their copywriter is taking a look at all that, and they're going to come back with their idea of the script. And then I have Mike Morgan. I know that you know him.
I know Mike. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike Morgan is going to then take a look at that script and make it even better. Okay.
Okay.
So he's one of the best copywriters around, so that's great. And then the dev team in the Ukraine is partying on the website as per spec, so they are making progress. And we got this economist on board to promote us as soon as we're ready. So we're looking good. The model I've chosen is a donation model where you get access to the members area for 2 weeks if you donate $1 or more.
Okay.
Okay. And then to stay on as a member, 2 weeks is enough to watch all the videos and then say, wow, this is great, and then become kind of a supporter in general. But if you want to stay on as more of an active member, you can for a donation of $1 or more per month, and you can pick what the donation is. So that way, we're letting people choose what level to invest in our movement. But everyone pays who's an active participant, and so we're going to have a great committed crowd of people. And you know what? Even if it's only 10 people, that's great. That we 10 people will change the world. And my hope though is it'll be like thousands of people pretty quickly, and paying $20 a month, and that right there can fund a lot of experiments with advertising campaigns and viral video attempts and so on, and so PR. And so that's where we start to get some real momentum. We're also going to, and Jay, we're going to need your advice on this, but we need to figure out how to work the system, like any movement does. But I'm thinking the first thing to invest in probably is going to all these different events around the country and having people behind the booth. And so we don't have to network on the floor. People who have money, who have interests, they go around the booth and they kind of test everyone. We don't know who's who. But that's the way we're going to meet. I think the big players that can say, you know what, I want to help fund this movement and help make it really big. So that's the game plan. What do you guys think?
Nice, I like it. Yeah, I think it's cool.
All right.
Good.
So the Economist loves organize to prioritize.
Yeah,
So,
we like that one too. That's what we voted on.
Yeah.
So.
So I think you guys like the prioritize movement better.
Yeah.
But organized you guys aren't against organized to prioritize?
No, we liked organized to we liked organized to prioritize.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's the one we voted for.
Is that right, Jay? I thought you voted for.
It was number
Okay,
three, which was organized to prioritize.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Then we are all in alignment. We are organized to prioritize. And if you actually if you go to prioritize.org right now, you'll see the coming soon page.
Cool.
So.
Okay.
Have I showed you guys our logo?
I have not seen the logo.
If you go to prioritize.org, you can see the logo.
Okay, one sec. Ah, yin and yang. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got the red and blue in the yin and yang
Yeah.
format there, but we still have the American flag properly represented.
Yeah. It's a little sexual, but I don't mind that.
Yeah, the arrow is a little bit phallic, but it's about progress, and it speaks to our curve that shows how we can constantly improve government spending as we constantly shrink the size of government. And so I wanted an arrow in there instead of just pure stripes, because it's about movement and it's about trending up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anything with yin and yang, I love it. I mean, that's I'm always talking about it, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good. I like it a lot.
All right. So it's a little bit Obama-ish almost because it's a circle, but I don't think it's too much that way.
No. And then somewhere it should say listen to the radio show Political Fix and then have links back to the Political Fix
Yep.
site and stuff.
Oh yeah. We'll take care of all that when we launch.
Yeah, and I have to update the website too because it's not. Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's really good. I'm excited. This is
All
cool.
right. Okay.
All right. So have a good week, guys.
All right.
Talk to you next
See you
week.
later. Bye.
All right. Bye.